Now here again is Sister Joan Chittister. Sister Joan, the Psalms says, I'll read the quote, "Happy are those who hope in the Lord." What is the link between happiness and hope?
Well, the problem is, Floyd, that it depends on what you mean by happiness, not what you mean by hope. We have people in dire circumstances, things that would not make most of us happy. Marvelous stories of the missionaries, for instance, who began the missions among the lepers. Now, that wouldn't go over as happiness on American television. But for people who have hope in the fulfillment of the Spirit, we have people who are working in our prisons in the United States today, working on death row. Is that happy in a Madison Avenue model? Of course not. But if by hope you mean the fulfillment of the human spirit, the coming to be everything you can be, the allowing the moment to bring out the new you, the best you, the fulfilled you, then hope and happiness are the same thing. I am happy in what I am hoping for, because what I'm hoping for is what my creating God means me to be here and now at this time.
That's a wonderful analogy. Let me read one other quote from the Bible, if I may, here, and let you respond to that, if you will. In the passages about hope in Romans, where it says, "Suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope." So how does hope come out of this suffering?
Well, forgive me for this one, Floyd, but that's the reason I wrote this latest book. The fact of the matter was that people were asking me to write a book about hope. And I tried. For 2.5 years, I worked on the concept of hope, coming back to the point that I believe every Christian, every major religious revelation and tradition comes to, and that is hope lies in the mind of God for us and the will of God for our development. Well, I got up one morning and I said to myself, this is ridiculous. I can't write a book on hope. Why not? Because there's nobody in the United States getting up in the morning saying, I feel wonderful today. I'm full of hope. I think I'll go out and buy a book and see why I feel that way.
Thank you.
That's nonsense. I came to understand that you can't write about hope without writing about struggle.
Right.
That struggle is the seedbed of hope. That people believe that, or we allow ourselves to think that hope is a hedge against struggle and pain. That's not true. That's not true. Hope is what comes out of our ongoing creativity at the times of our deepest struggle. So when the Scripture tells us quite clearly one leads to the other, the Scripture is just simply saying the same thing. If this, then this, then this, now you have reason to hope, because you're more full of the sense of life at the end of struggle. You're more full of the presence of God in yourself at the end of struggle than you can ever possibly be before it. And there isn't anybody who doesn't struggle in life who doesn't find that out.
Somebody once said, if it doesn't kill me, it'll make me stronger.
Well, and there's a lot of truth to that.
And give you some hope for that.
That's right.
We've got about a minute and a half here, and I'd like to have a personal story from you. You have so much strength of character. We all recognize that in the great works that you're doing. We admire so much, but you're human too.
You bet.
Have you ever had an experience where your hope was challenged? It was that difficulty that came
When
through?
I got into writing the book, I found myself using the story of Jacob wrestling with the angel as the cycle of struggle and the model of hope. That it's God's teaching to us about what struggle is and how we go through it and what the other end is. So I said to myself, well, if you're so right, prove it. It ought to apply to you, Joan. And I sat down and I wrote on a yellow pad a couple of the great struggles of my life and said, is this true? One of them, of course, a lot of people already know, was physical. I was a polio survivor and didn't walk for 4 years. But beyond the physical, which many people go through, I went through a life-changing event, told that one day I would go to writing, to a creative writing class, and the next day I wasn't permitted. I saw my whole life change in front of me, and yet I knew every step of the way that I was becoming more the person that I needed to become. Yes, I've been there, way there.
And the hope came through.
And the hope came through.
Oh, you're marvelous. It's such a joy to be with you, and it's our real privilege to have you. Thank you, Sister Joan.
Thank you, Florence.